Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Recapping Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, girl. Hey.
How are you doing today?
I am excellent. And you know why?
I think I have a clue, but go ahead.
Reunited and it feels so good. I saw you for the first time in 2 freaking years.
Can you imagine? I mean, oh my gosh.
I mean, thank God for technology, because at least it didn't feel like it had been that long.
Exactly.
But when you think about it, that is crazy. I mean, your daughter is a whole person now. So
yes, with a wider vocabulary and everything.
Yes. I was up here trying to impress her, so it's just
I just couldn't believe it, Ashley. I was like, you're really here.
I know. It is a little different when you get in the flesh. But again, I'm just thankful for technology, because if it wasn't for that with COVID and everything that happened last year, I just don't know how I would have stayed sane and connected with everybody, including you. And then obviously we wouldn't be able to do our podcast. So
I was going to say, this was our first time seeing each other since we are podcasters.
I know, that's weird.
That was insane. Like, wow.
Yeah, guys, we had a meeting and everything. We are putting it together. So
we are.
But no, it was great to see you, girl. I'm glad we got this FaceTime in. So yes, I am excellent.
Me too. All right, Ashley. So this week has been interesting with hot topics. We're gonna touch upon a quick headline. Chris Harris is officially out of Bachelor Nation.
Dum, dum, dum.
It's
not a shocker, obviously.
But it's been reported that he had a payout and he and the franchise have parted ways. What were your initial reactions, Ashley?
I mean, again, I'm not surprised. Even last week when we talked about this with the Bachelor Paradise hosting decisions, like, I was not going to be sad if Chris Harrison never returned. But again, I'm not a Bachelor Nation person, right? So His absence is not the same for me. I saw some of the quotes from some of the Bachelor Nation folks, and it's not going to be the same. And somebody said, I'm getting choked up just writing this. She wrote something like social media. I get that, because at the end of the day, he was a staple. It was like he was on the show for like 20 years, right?
Yes, 19 seasons, I believe.
So I mean, that is a long time, and he was so integral. But I mean, I hate to say it, but hopefully he's looking at this as a positive, and that maybe there are some new horizons for him to get to and discover. I mean, doing anything for 20 years, that's a long time.
That's a long time. I hope he's diversified.
Yeah. I'm sure he has. And I think this just goes to show probably that neither he or the network could agree on a path forward. And so this is probably just the best option, so that he wasn't continually waiting on the sidelines.
Well, a lot of heavy hitters in Bachelor Nation, not Rachel Lindsay, but like the current Bachelorette, she didn't want him to return. And I thought that was interesting. So
yeah,
it wasn't just the Black people, folks.
I mean, he pissed a lot of people off, us included, obviously, when he said what he said. But we talked about the whole thing of whether or not he should be able to come back and all of that. I mean, again, I don't have strong feelings, because I was not such a fan that him not being on the show makes or breaks anything for me. And to have celebs host will probably be fun for a little bit. So
possibly.
We'll see if they find another permanent host.
Yes. And yeah, I have a feeling that he didn't want to humble himself and maybe make a couple of more apologies to come back. And
I mean, he said what he said, and he said it with his whole chest, and I stand firm in that.
Whole chest and entire foot in his mouth in the process.
He said what he said. So,
woo! All right, so let's move into hot topics. Ashley, Lilibet, Diana, Mountbatten Windsor was born a few days ago in California.
That is a mouthful.
Girl. And her name's short by royal standards, by the way.
Wow.
There's so much to this name, okay? So Lilibet, and she will be known as Lily, is a nickname for the Queen, Her Majesty herself. I guess growing up, she couldn't pronounce her name Elizabeth, so she always referred to herself as Lilibet, and her family adopted that as her nickname. Only family calls her by this, and the last person to do this was her beloved husband, Philip, who recently passed away. Diana, as we all know, is the name of Harry's late mother, the Princess of Wales. And yeah, this is exciting news because, I'm Team Sussex. Ashley, what's in a name? What are your thoughts about this new beautiful addition to Harry and Meghan's family?
Well, first of all, congratulations on bringing a new life into the world, a healthy baby girl.
Yes.
That is wonderful.
Girls are the best.
Yes, we are. Don't forget that, people. Everybody always says they want a boy, and I'm like, who's going to take care of you when you're old? Because it's the women, it's the daughters. Okay. Always. Anyway, Lily, I think that's cute. That's what she'll go by. Lilibet, I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a name. You know what I mean? Like, it was a little
an option.
Yeah, exactly. It was a little sideways for me because I just knew it was going to be Diana. Like, I just knew I just knew. Yes, I just knew it. I just figured because they're such a much more unconventional couple than the others, and they're in the family and all that.
They are making her proud for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he has said multiple times, I am my mother's son. Yes, you are, sir. But to your point, I think we had this in conversation this week. I am kind of disappointed that there was nothing of Meghan's family in the name and nothing of her mother in the name. I know they said, well, Lily, like her mother used to call her Flower as a nickname as a child.
Yes.
Beautiful. But I mean, obviously, if we're bucking a lot of traditional royal norms, this could be another one that I would have been excited to see some more modern twist to it by adding in a name that is not a royal name. So that would be the one thing that to me, I kind of felt sad about. But otherwise, I mean, again, happy for you guys. Congratulations. Mazel tov. I don't know what else to say.
Do you think naming her after Harry's family, it's an olive branch to the royals?
I could see that, especially the Queen herself, because it's been a roller coaster, right? But they've always made sure, even in that Oprah interview, to speak highly of the Queen and to reiterate that they have a good standing and relationship with the Queen. So I could see that for sure.
I mean, their safety was at stake too. So that's shady.
But I don't think that this is going to make or break those ties either, I guess. Like, I can see it as olive branch, but I don't think naming her this is going to endear them anymore back to the family. So what do you think?
So when I first heard the name, I was not excited because Lilibet. And when I saw that they were emphasizing Lily, I felt a little relieved because to me, that's cuter, frankly.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then of course Diana. I mean, Charlotte's one of her middle names.
Yeah.
Diana. So I'm super excited about that. I actually didn't have any expectation outside of Diana, but as you mentioned, and Whoopi was the first person to, put this idea in my head. It would have been nice to see Doria somewhere up in there. You know what I mean? And the flower thing, I heard about that as well. It's a little bit of a stretch for me. So yeah, but I'm super excited for them. And I cannot wait to see a picture, if they'll ever grace us with a picture, because I don't know if you noticed, Archie pictures are always in black and white. You never see his hair.
Or I never thought about that.
Is turned. And I mean, I kind of get it because at this point she's just like, I'm going to protect my kids because
for sure
the not the royals, the Brits, the media and their social media are ruthless, okay?
Well, especially if the family was already asking so many questions before this child was born about its skin color and all these things. And I think you're going to be extra, extra protective. But even you see a lot of celebs do that. You see a lot of celebs and they post pictures of their kids online. They post only the back of them most times. And I mean, it makes sense because they're innocent and they didn't ask to be a part of this life, right? But I will be curious as well to see how these kids grow up and how this being the first royal born on American soil,
girl,
you know, how all of this kind of blows over throughout the years to come.
Excellent point, because baby girl, I believe, is 8th in line now that she's here. So
they're saying that her and Archie will get their titles once the queen passes and, you know, old daddy becomes king.
Yep.
If Queen Elizabeth ever lets that happen.
Girl, she is like over my dead body.
Yeah, she is holding on.
I honestly, I don't have much faith with Charles being in charge.
Like the show, Charles in Charge. That's an 80s reference for those younger folks listening to the podcast. That was a show.
That was good. Okay. That was good. All right. So on to our second hot topic this week. Simone Biles. Okay. She has won her 7th national women's all-around gymnastic title in Fort Worth, Texas. Ashley, she said, I feel like I did try to enjoy it because it could be one of my last championships that I'll attend, but it's also the road to Tokyo. And after this, we have trials. So we just have to really embrace the moment. And this is all from CBS News. What are your thoughts on this Black girl magic? Okay. And are you ready for the Olympics?
Oh, I'm absolutely very excited for the Olympics. I am very much a gymnastics and track and field lover when it comes to the Olympics, and swimming as well. But I'm super excited. You know, the crazy thing about gymnastics for me, though, is I can rarely watch consistently like gymnastics outside of the Olympics because I get so nervous that they're going to get injured. And so it's just one of those sports that like I am wowed by. And obviously Simone Biles defies gravity and, you know, any normal athleticism with the things that she's been able to do.
Exactly.
But Simone, I kind of feel a little bit relieved when she stops actually competing, because I'm like, yes, you made it. Like you made it through your entire career without any significant injuries. But obviously her accomplishments are amazing. I love that she is not just such a great competitor, but also I've heard she's gotten really good and comfortable and embraces being a coach and mentor to the younger gymnasts. Because, you know, there's some professional athletes that are just so focused on their careers that they don't lend that olive branch. So I love that about her. I didn't realize I was researching for the pod too, that her family, her grandparents, who she calls her parents, own a gym in Texas. Like I didn't know that. So obviously representation, the ability for athletes of color to be able to come in there and train. I mean, that's amazing. So Simone, I see why you put that goat into your uniform, your leotard.
It's deserved. And to your point about her becoming a mentor, that video that went viral with her putting on the hair tie on the other Black gymnast, girl, the way that warmed my cold heart. I was
not so cold heart.
touched because I grew up watching Dominique Dawes. Okay? My mom was screaming at the TV in 1992 talking about, that's my girl.
You better bring Dominique Dawes' name out your mouth. I loved Dominique Dawes.
Okay, respect. And I just remember being I remember seeing my mom so hyped over Dominique Dawes, not fully understanding
the significance
that this is the first Black girl to compete for the United States in the Olympics. I was so inspired. I remember climbing on the side of my bathroom tub, pretending that was a balance.
Oh, that is so cute.
I had to have been a good 5 years old or something like that.
That is so cute. If only social media existed, that would be out on these internet somewhere. Your mama would have captured that on video for sure. That's so cute.
Oh my gosh. And so, and speaking of Blockbuster, I remember growing up being told that the balance beams are as wide as a VHS tape. So, fun fact on that one. And check out our
Wow.
Blockbuster recap.
Yes, the last Blockbuster. But yeah, no,
Oh,
I mean, I think that she'll continue to do her thing.
yes. And so I'm super excited. I just love that she just knows who she is and
Yeah.
understands her power in the moment. Like she calls out the judges and everything, and I love it. I'm here for it, and we are rooting for you, Simone.
Yes. I love that video of her doing the rope with her boyfriend because, you know, he's an
Yes.
NFL player. It's like,
Hmm.
you ain't got nothing on me, sir. Okay.
She's like
Nothing.
nothing. So impressive. Yes, that's a new Facebook Watch show that's coming.
Yeah.
Simone
June
versus
15th.
herself.
Yeah.
Yes,
June 15th docuseries. Yep.
cannot wait. So, do you have anything else on these hot topics, Ashley?
That's it. Let's go, Simone. Team USA, baby.
USA, USA.
And see, I can't even say that it's all that, but go Simone. You know what I mean? Go Simone.
All right. If there's nothing else, it's all you, Ashley.
All right, guys, this week we are doing another throwback, taking it back to 1997 with Love Jones. This film dropped in theaters on March 14th. And Delora, while this film was not considered a commercial success when it debuted, actually would have been considered a flop, unfortunately. It has certainly become a cult classic, and it is available to stream on
It still made
Netflix.
$2 million over budget.
Yeah, but it was considered commercially a flop in terms of the returns. Unfortunately, not that I'm saying it should have been, because I love Jones. Anyway, on Netflix, it is currently listed as number 9 in terms of the most liked in the US category. And the runtime is just shy of 2 hours. I think it's around like 1 hour, 45 minutes. So a quick summary: a poet and a photographer take a chance on romance, but find their ambitions and baggage could keep them from taking their relationship further. The writer and director of this film is Theodore Witcher, and believe it or not, Delora, this is his first and to date only feature film.
Wow, it's a lot
Yeah.
of work. So,
Well, he credits it, the reasoning behind it being, again, the commercial failure of the film, and in terms of what he was able to kind of do or had the power to do in Hollywood thereafter.
And we also, it's so funny that people forget. Honestly, if you did bad back in the day, there was no coming back, especially for quote unquote Black films.
Exactly. And a Black man who at the time, I think it was Spike Lee or something, that said that he was going to be like the next Steven Soderbergh or something. So he was hyped up. And after this, I think he just felt that the Hollywood machine was not for him. He had a strong vision about what he wanted to do and hasn't been able to yet. But again, he's not, he's still around. So we'll see if he decides to step back in the game. This had another amazing soundtrack, Delora, and it was actually curated by Theodore Witcher and was so successful that the studio re-released the film 5 months after its debut. Which is yes, amazing, because the demand, when people were gravitating towards the soundtrack, it caused such a demand for the movie. So interesting fun fact, guys. Cast, let's get into this cast. So we have Lorenz Tate as Darius Lovehall, who, by the way, it is really because they were able to get him that this film even got greenlit, because he was coming off of the success of Menace to Society. So they felt he was going to be a big draw for Black folks to come to the box office. Nia Long stars as Nina Mosley, and originally the writer and director wanted Miss Jada Pinkett Smith, and she passed.
Really?
Yes.
Nina, though, so gorgeous.
I mean, this is a classic Nia Long part, so I just can't imagine anybody else being in this role.
And love Jada, but it's something about Nia that's a little bit more feminine and lighter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That Jada Jada obviously gorgeous, but there's a level of like alpha like in her.
And she was a little rougher around the edges back then too. I mean, this is like
yes.
she just was rapping probably a different world. You know what I mean?
She
still
didn't
had
do
that
whoa or woo yet. I can't remember.
No, yeah, woo. She still had that. She still had that Baltimore edge for sure when this movie would have been coming out. So I get it. We had Lisa Nicole Carson as Nina's friend Josie. We had Isaiah Washington as Savon. We had Bill Bellamy, and it may have been his very first role actually, as Hollywood or Wood, as he's called.
Like a baby.
Yeah, he said this was his chance to kind of show that he could act, not just do comedy, but act. Bernadette L. Clark as Sheila, Khalil Kane as Marvin, and Leonard Roberts as Eddie. By the way, all of these fun facts that I'm listing off, I want to give credit where credit is due. I am getting this from an LA Times article by Tre'vell Anderson. So shout out Tre'vell. So reviews, Delora. Rotten Tomatoes, 73% critic score, 97% audience score, and 90% Google users. Now, Delora, one of the reasons why we chose to do a recap of this film is because you had never seen it. So
why you putting my business out here in the streets?
It's already been on the podcast streets. So this ain't nothing new unless you're just tuning into it.
I'm teasing.
Give us your grade and overall thoughts on Love Jones.
Well, Ashley, thank you for this time. Part of the reason why we decided to do this film, I told you, and I quote, I wanted to get my Black card reinstated. Honestly, after watching it, because, okay, I also want to give this caveat. My mom did not see this movie, okay? And I think the reason why she probably didn't watch it, and obviously in return, we didn't watch it, it was really sexy, frankly. You know what I mean? It was one of the sexier movies back in the day. You know what I mean?
It was definitely sexy.
So that's the reason why I hadn't seen it. Okay, so and I'm also going to say this before I give my grade. I figured since I didn't see it as a young person, maybe as an adult, I might have a better appreciation for it and whatnot. This movie gets like a B- C+ for me.
Ooh, okay. Give us some deets.
Okay. Well, I absolutely loved everyone. Everyone was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love that it was just beautiful, young, professional Black people living their lives, free from the white gaze. And what I mean by that is any police officer or somebody trying to, hurt them in any kind of way. And a la Lovecraft or any other movie that's come out recently.
No Black pain, please.
I love that it was about their love story. And again, it was just because Nia and Lorenz were so young, you felt the youthful vibrance in their performances and their connection. It was, the whole movie was a vibe. I love the soundtrack, as you mentioned. It was giving me some Sylvie Loves vibes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Also, and the photograph.
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, did that young lady watch this movie, Love Jones, to inspire her to play Issa Rae's mama? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's the vibes, even some of the feel, some of the jazzier feel.
Yes. But I did not enjoy Lorenz Tate's character that much for various reasons. Let me also give you some context. I also don't like Love and Basketball for some of the same reasons. The male lead and his messiness and pride. So that's why I gave it the grade I gave. B- C+.
All right. Thank you for that. I literally just wrote my grade down maybe 10 minutes before we started recording because I also was struggling with my grade for this. And I'm going to get to that. It's really about the ending for me that was really impacting my grade, but I still gave it an A- because again, for me, this is a Black rom-com classic. And the respect I have for the cast, the respect I have for the fact that this film has held up, chemistry. Those kisses between Lorenz Tate and Nia Long are some of the realest I've ever seen. I became so invested in their love story, and this was black 90s beauty at its finest.
Absolutely.
I mean, it reminded me of the simplicity of just natural hair, more natural looks to makeup, more natural bodies. Like I forgot.
Girl, natural bodies. What was that? Like, I don't know.
You know,
real faces.
Yes. And then, sorry, K. Michelle. I enjoy. I mean, was that not shocking? I was shocked.
Honestly, anybody famous now, really.
But I really did not I really could not recognize her.
I did not either. I did not. When they said this was K. Michelle dancing with her new body, I'm like, and new face?
I mean, you look like somebody's sister. I had no idea that was supposed to be hers.
At all.
Anyway, I digress.
Did she get her veneers out or something? Like, I don't know.
Her whole face was slimmed. Yeah, God bless. God bless. Whatever makes you happy, sis. Yes. I also enjoyed kind of that spoken word scene that they orbited around, and just added such like texture to the film for me in terms of like, they had these really artistic, intellectual conversations. And I'm like, yes, Black people.
Yes, Black people. Like that neo soul movement back in the day.
And I was
like, where's Common? Where's Common?
Exactly. Common should have made a cameo. Fun fact, they wanted Lauryn Hill to be in the film, but she wasn't able to because the Fugees were on tour. So that's why she ended up doing and just sending him the sweetest thing for the soundtrack. Yeah. Because she couldn't be in Chicago for the actual tape, for the actual filming. So I'm telling you, that article, LA Times, guys, a lot of insight. So Laura, now that we've given our grades and our general information, let's go ahead and get into the film. Spoiler alert, friends. Let's get into the good. So the film is set in Chi-Town, Chicago. Some nice little backdrop there. Gave me kind of some Spike Lee vibes to start when they were doing like the black and white. The same as we said with 40-year-old version, that aesthetic to start it. But we meet Nina first. She just has gotten out of a serious relationship / engagement. And she said with Marvin. With Marvin.
Girlfriends reference.
Oh, yes. It's funny you say that. And I forgot what his name was on Girlfriends, even though we both just binge watched those seasons. Yes, his name for the film is Marvin, but on Girlfriends, he was Darnell. He was Maya's husband. She's swearing off falling in love. She said it's played out like an A-track, Delora. When we meet Darius.
These references. I mean, the fact that she paid with a check. I'm like, honey. Some of these kids don't have any idea.
I was about to say, my checkbook is somewhere. I still have one, but it's somewhere. When we meet Darius and his friend group at the Sanctuary, which to my point is that spoken word, haven that they are always going to. They had a convo about romance that I want to talk about, Laura. Darius mentions romance is about the possibility of the thing. The time between when you first meet some fine ass woman and when you first make love to her, when you first ask a woman to marry you, and when she says, I do. When people who've been together for a long time say romance is gone, what they're really saying is they've exhausted the possibilities. Was this an accurate definition for you of romance?
I was impressed by it. I was. You could tell he was feeling himself saying it as well. So.
Yeah. He definitely struck me as one of those friends that I roll my eyes at on occasion, like, bro, please. Like
Exactly. Yeah, no, I feel like it was thoughtful. I mean, honestly, the whole thing that keeps us going as human beings, as well as in relationships, are possibilities, the hope of something else, something more, whether it's children or the next stages in the quote unquote American dream, like buying a house or whatever.
Yeah.
Going on trips. I thought it was well said.
I loved it. This is why I tell people anything you ever want to know can be found in a movie, because this was a great quote. This was a great line. I absolutely loved it. And whoever wrote it, which obviously is Theodore, good job. Because now this is ingrained in my mind. Anyway, Nina is also at the sanctuary with her girlfriend. We have our meet cute with Darius at the bar. He's this writer poet and dedicates a poem to her girl when he gets up on stage called A Blues for Nina. This scene is the most memorable scene for me that I remembered from my early days of watching it. That line, I am the blues in your left thigh, trying to become the funk in your right. Is that all right? Delora, it gets me every time. Nina wasn't as impressed as I feel like I would have been, though. She mentions afterwards that there were other topics to talk about besides sex, like love. Would this poem have done it for you, though? Would he have gotten them digits?
Honestly, this is where I love Nina. I keep wanting to call her Nia.
It's so close.
So close. Because I agree. You coming out the gate, you just met me. I just told you my name and you're already talking about wanting to have sex with me in front of everybody. I mean, I actually appreciate it. Like, yes, girl. That's also how you know she's used to things like this because she's so fine, right? Like, she's like, I am not impressed by this poem, but I'm not gonna lie. The delivery was everything. The music behind was everything. I'm not gonna lie. The use of funk when referring to In Between a Woman's Legs was something that, I could do without.
It's the music, not the literal, but I get your point.
But no, it was a great scene, Ashley. I will give it that.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I loved the entire poem. Obviously I'm not going to take the time to read it, but it was definitely one of my favorite scenes in the entire film. And just, you immediately get this sense of what their dynamic is, in terms of, he seemed like he was kind of wowed by her from the minute he laid eyes on her, and she's kind of falling back like, listen, I said I'm swearing off love and I mean it, but is she going to stick to that? No, because this is a love story. So we see that Nina is a photographer. What are your thoughts on this scene, though, where she's an assistant at the moment, and her boss, who is a white man, by the way, she brings him lunch. He tosses it across the desk when she didn't bring him what he wanted, and says she didn't have the temperament to be an assistant.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. She kind of just showed up and was like, well, this ain't curry, and they also didn't have your stuff. So I'm like, sis, did you try? The goal is when you see a problem, you resolve it on your own so it can look like you put some initiative in it. She didn't seem very invested, though, Ashley. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
You playing the devil's advocate a little bit because you want to say if you was her, you would have been like, excuse me, hold up. I'm not saying you should cut Josh boss.
I don't think, okay, so this is going in with the assumption, working with creatives, especially well-paid, famous creatives, you get that diva attitude. That's expected. And I'm not saying it's okay, but you got to know your audience. So showing up, ill-prepared, it's not gonna end well. That's where I stand. Not to say that man was justified, but I'm like, his behavior, you can pick up his vibe from across the room in that way.
Can totally understand the idea of having integrity in everything that you do, no matter what the job is. And obviously she doesn't want to be an assistant. She wants to be a photographer on her own. But she
obviously thinks she can do better than him too, because the way she was looking at him work was like, really? Okay.
I still didn't appreciate this scene. I still felt like if I hand you something and you toss it across the desk, yeah, that's the problem. Like, I understand, it's more so like two wrongs don't make a right. If you felt like her temperament wasn't great, well, yours in this moment is stank as well. So
I didn't think anything was wrong with her temperament. I just thought that she just didn't do the job. The internet thing going around. Oh, she knew the assignment. I don't know if she knew the assignment.
Well, I think she did. She just may not have cared as much as she should have if she wanted to keep that assignment, right? Because again, she doesn't want to be an assistant. This is a pit stop on her road to success for sure. But again, to me, it was just, I didn't appreciate it. I was looking at it too from like a Black woman trying to make it standpoint, and like, I don't know, that the whole
Being
temperament
disrespected is not okay.
Yeah, the whole temperament thing rubs me the wrong way, because I don't know if you necessarily would have said that to a white woman. You know what I mean? So yeah, it still just rubbed me the wrong way in that moment. So, again, to your point, I don't think she wanted to be an assistant, but she said, listen, they didn't have it. Give me a break. It's just lunch. And then it just wasn't a good moment. It wasn't a good look. So I digress. Darius was very persistent in his pursuit of Miss Nina. They see each other again at a record store, but she declines his offer to go out for drinks. She said, listen, it's bad timing, nothing personal. But does he take no for an answer, Delora? No. He decides to get her address from that check that you mentioned she wrote earlier, from her purchase of a CD, because his friend Sheila works there. First of all, Sheila, you may get fired.
Period.
And he shows up at her door. I said, stalker much? Girl. She actually let him in the house too, said she was house sitting. Dolores, stranger danger. Ain't no way in the hell I'm gonna let a strange man in my house that I just met the other night.
Period. And this is what I did not like, but I'll explain later. But especially when it comes to his character. Ashley, first of all, I love Sheila. She's so beautiful and funny and jovial. But it's like, sis, did you think this was really a good idea?
You should be fired. That is insane.
Invasion of privacy.
You are giving away. What if he went and murdered Nina?
He showed up with the Isley Brother CD, but the fact that he showed up and wanted to come in, it was already bad enough that you showed up to my house with an address I did not provide you. But then you want to come in?
He was wilding. Like I said, stalker much. You went above and beyond. And side note, though, a record store, I realized, just like we talked about in the last Blockbuster, we should have worked at Blockbuster. A record store is another missed job opportunity for me. Where was I in my teenage years?
I remember buying my first CD from a record store. I got Maroon 5's Songs About Jane. My favorite album of all time. But I say that to say,
I should have worked at the one in Oregon District. I should have.
It was the one in my neighborhood, and you would think I probably should have worked there.
What were we doing as teenagers?
Girl, anyway, I don't know.
Not focused. Anyway, his persistence, though, actually works out. She lets him in and agrees to go out with his stalking ass for a friend's get together. You know what I put in my notes? This just reminds me of the fact that men will do the fucking most to get you
in those draws,
but not necessarily always keeping that same energy to actually connect and keep you.
Period.
Amazing.
This is my biggest gripe, and I'll be sure to explain more later.
Okay. This conversation they have at the friends gathering of, is God a woman? That convo was so interesting to me, because I said, I've talked to my friends about a lot, but I have never had that conversation. Have you ever had that conversation of whether God is a man or a woman?
Never.
You have any thoughts about it? I thought their conversation was just hilarious. Like, I didn't fall one way or the other. I was just like, y'all points are hilarious.
I'm under the Christian tradition as of right now, but
that it's a male.
Yes, but as you get older, you become more comfortable knowing that you don't know everything, right?
Right. And does it matter? Probably is the bigger thing for me. Like, do I need God to have a gender? Because at the end of the day, God may manifest in whatever form makes you comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yes. And to that point, Ashley, God is God, which means he could be something that's above anything that we can comprehend.
Exactly. I mean, the whole, he made man in his image. I get it. I get that people need a visual for that. But again, for me, maybe that's why I've never had the conversation, because to me, I don't feel like it matters whatsoever. But it was still a hilarious moment, especially when Saban was like, listen, God has to be a woman, because think about it. When a man gets an erection, blood drain goes from what comes from where? His head and his feet. So it renders him dumb, and he can't run. Only a woman would come up with that shit.
Oh my gosh.
Only a woman will come up with that shit. I thought that was just a funny scene. So good job. That chemistry between Darius and Nina was such, though, that that cookie was on the menu after that very first date. I mean, this is what I'm talking about, the
He's
passion.
very charming. I will give him that.
He said, I want to come up and just talk. Even he had to laugh because it's like, we are grown. We out here fully making out with some passionate kisses. We know what's about to go down when I come upstairs. So, one thing that I noticed, though, just a side note about rom-com land, is that they always make it seem as if when it's the one, that connection is just like immediately fire. But is that realistic? Is that realistic in real life? I feel like in reality, a lot of love stories are a slow burn. Like, yes, you may encounter that person multiple times, and you get to know them and you actually build a relationship with them, and then love comes later, Because
honestly, to that excellent point, Ashley, in movies, it's mainly lust in most cases.
Yeah.
True love, right?
Yeah.
Love is patient.
Love is kind.
Love is kind. He had zero patience, Ashley.
No, he wanted the good. He wanted that cookie. And to be fair, she knew what she was doing too. Like she said the next morning, I didn't do anything I didn't want to do, right?
Yeah.
But I just had to point that out because I think that's one thing that when I watch rom-coms now, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And it's ridiculous to me because the experiences for most people are so different. Like even from The Fault in Our Stars that we both loved, one of my favorite lines is that I fell in love slowly and then all at once. That is so much more realistic to me.
I need to reread that book.
Yes, so much more realistic to me than a lot of this nonsense. But again, it is what it is. It's the category of film we're choosing to watch. But
and when it comes to time, you can have an infinity of time, right? Like it'll be our infinity, but obviously.
If y'all have not seen that movie, me and Delora read the book and watched the movie. It was heartbreaking.
We were bawling.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But it was beautiful because to your point, so yes, even if your love story doesn't last forever, does that make it any less valid or real?
Exactly.
It does not. So Josie was hilarious that next day. That cab scene, that iconic cab scene where her and Nina are talking, and she said his dick just spoke to me, and Josie's like, what did it say? Nina, like, yo,
she was hanging on every word that Nina
Josie
was
hilarious.
I need to call out Netflix because I, being almost a geriatric millennial, okay, use subtitles. A lot of the time it's because when I'm watching these grown shows with the toddler, she's in bed and I'm trying to watch it as low as possible. So read it. And my love for British dramas, because they always whisper everything and I can't hear anything in that accent. But whoever typed those subtitles, okay, did the following. When Josie called Nina a hoe, it was replaced with how.
Oh, gosh.
And then when they were later on, when in one of the scenes with the Friends group, they were calling each other niggas like Black people do when they're in
those spaces.
Communion.
Hello.
And they're typing out the S's at the end. I'm like, y'all need to get some Black transcribers.
That needs to say N-word.
Immediately.
N-word. N-word. You hear that, Netflix? Check on your captioners.
Do better. Thanks.
Thank you for that PSA, Delora. In this scene with Josie, though, Nina is adamant to say that, Delora, this is no love thing. They are just, in quotes, kicking it. And Darius basically says the same thing over a game of pool with Savon. He's, I literally laughed out loud when they talked about him getting up and cooking the next day. You cook. Oh, that's better than MJ with his comeback. Oh, it's the best thing since MJ's comeback. You know what I mean? Like, it was just that.
He brought out, he was like, this girl did put a spell on me.
Yes, okay? Put that thing on me. But again, he said they just kicking it. But Savon's like, listen, when that Jones come down, for the name of the film, obviously, Love Jones, it can be a motherfucker.
Yep.
So my question and my thought after this scene was the funny idea that either of them thought it was within their control whether or not they were going to fall in love. Is love truly a choice that people make?
Ooh, yes.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Give me your reasoning.
Well, to Darius' point earlier, when it comes to long-term relationships and the conversation of possibilities, you have to choose to love a person to imagine those possibilities over time. Just to use the movie's language to this question.
Okay. I think I agree with you, but I think I agree with you in the sense that you have a choice before you start falling. I'm not sure you have much of a choice once those feelings really blossom. But I think when you're in the process of getting to know somebody, you can decide whether you want to lean in or lean out, like how seriously you want to take that in terms of opening yourself up to
great point
love and to them really knowing you, because you can have those barriers up and really just kick it with somebody, and that is what it is, because you out here, they not the only person you spending your time with, and X, Y, and Z.
That's an amazing point, Ashley, because I'm a huge proponent of loving with both your head and your heart, and not just, your pussy and your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the reason why I bring that up, because, when real life comes into the picture, when it comes to, aligning schedules, and which means time, or when it comes to
the non-sexy stuff,
like, does he have a job? You know what I mean? Is he faithful? Because you can fall in love with somebody who is just not available. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or doesn't want to be, chooses not to be.
And so with that, you have to, like you mentioned, determine whether or not you love this person, to love them through it or not, or just the next one.
I'm just hearing, can you stand the rain? New edition in my head. On a perfect day, I know that I can count on you, but can you stand the rain? Because if you choose to go down that path and really be in a relationship, put your heart out there with somebody, I mean, life happens. People go through a lot. So, again, I think that's, what'd you say?
A lot.
Yeah. I think it's just a question, again, that really came from this idea that both of them thought that they could manage their emotions. It just came to me. So glad to get your thoughts on that.
This is also where I started. So in the Bible, okay, in Proverbs, it talks about how charm is fleeting, right? So is beauty. And this is where I started giving Darius the side eye, okay? Because he was so hard pressed to get in them draws. And as soon as he got them, oh, that's not my girl. Why? Why not? You wrote a poem after meeting her for less than 5 minutes. But now she put a spell on you.
She put that thing on you.
And she's not your girl?
So I think you saying that is very valid, because I don't think I had ever considered the fact that we knew immediately why Nina wasn't trying to make the relationship serious initially, but we didn't have that perspective from Darius. Nina said off top, I don't want anything. It's bad timing, because I'm swearing, we know she's swearing off love. She's got something very serious. But for Darius' part, is it just his ego? Is it just, a man think he's lying to Savon in this moment? Because I think, and to be honest, he was even lying to himself. I think after this initial encounter, they both knew that Jones,
something was special,
was coming for their ass.
Absolutely. Okay.
So story of women's lives, that as soon as you're moving on, your ex pops their ass back up.
It's like a cosmic rule, right? Like
has to be in somebody universe. Drake said it best when he said something about like a running back, that motherfucker came back around. They do it every time. every time. So Nina's ex, Marvin, aka Darnell, invites her to New York to stay with him because that's where he lives at the moment. She decides to go, Dolores, because she feels like she needs to know if she still loves this man, and decides though that she needs to tell Darius and be honest with him. So let me say this. I appreciated that instinct and intention and honesty, but this moment felt like a test, which I did not enjoy, because at this point, if I were Darius, honestly, and she said this to me, why then would I put my feelings totally out there? Like, we've been quote unquote kicking it for only a couple of weeks. Did you expect me to suddenly be like, oh my God, don't go, I cannot live without you? Ma'am, I'm trying to figure out where we're at and what we're doing, and you're about to up and go to New York to figure out your situation with your ex?
And honestly, if he had done that, I would say, sis, wear your red flags, because
is that not a double standard? Absolutely. If that was him and he was like, listen, I got to go to New York, I'll be gone maybe a couple weeks, maybe longer, because I got to go figure out a situation, deuces. Like, as women, we'd be like, oh, deuces. But you called this man to try to get him to come down to the train station while you possibly about to go take some other dick. Like, it was a scene that, again, I appreciate the instinct of honesty, because I do agree that he deserved the truth. But at the same time, I didn't feel like it was realistic expectations to think that he was going to sit around and wait for you.
And I also didn't blame her for wanting to see her ex-fiance, because
I didn't either.
At the same time, she invested some good years on him. Okay.
So that was her fiance. And to our knowledge, she's not the one who broke it off. So It seems like there were still some unresolved feelings and things there. That's not my point. My point is, what did you expect Darius to have done, ma'am?
Yeah. Yeah. Although if she was really watching his face, it was all over his face.
Like, yeah, I mean, he was trying to play it cool, but she don't know him like we know him.
Like, they were in bath towels, and
we just finished. I'm shirtless.
This is a good time to tell me. Okay,
I'm shirtless. You under a blanket? Okay. Anyway, Darius decides to fill his time with a random named Lisa. I feel bad for Lisa because he played Lisa too many times in this movie as just being nothing.
Girl.
Nina realizes, though, that the past is best left in the past, and leaves Marvin while he was still asleep, girl. Left that engagement ring on that man's finger.
Well, honestly, probably being with Darius is probably the best thing for her.
Yes.
To open up her eyes to realize, you know what? There are more fish in this sea, okay?
Yes. And who knows if she was only, to her point when she's like, Marvin, all we have is all these years. She was just holding on to the idea of something of what was, and had never really let it sink in that that's no longer what this was. Sometimes it takes the next one to make you realize, oh, I am still vibrant. I do still want or need other things. I still want to be challenged.
Butterflies.
Yeah, because even from their dynamic, when she like came home, he was complaining about some fucking cereal. I'm like, how old are you?
Girl.
I wasn't a fan.
I am a grown-ass person that enjoys Captain Crunch with berries, but
would you have come at Dave's neck like that as soon as he walked in the door? Exactly. Never. That's what I'm saying. Take your grown ass to the grocery store. It's not that deep. Oh my goodness. You had to eat that. You couldn't eat the other cereal. Like, are you kidding me with this bullshit? Like, anyway, after spotting Darius,
that showed that he got comfortable real quick. He went right back into the roles they were in.
There was no romancing, was there?
Nope, not at all.
At least not that we saw. No, at least not that we saw. Like, he definitely was like, oh, you came, so I got you. Again, pitiful. Where's that energy that y'all be having when things first start out? I need y'all to keep that energy. After spotting Darius with random Lisa, I'm so sorry, Lisa. It's no disrespect. When she returns from New York, Nina moves on, and with Wood, girl of all people, who asked her out. Honey.
So goofy.
Goodness. Was it foul of Lisa and Wood to entertain each other, given her history with Darius?
Yes, but at the same time, so one of the things that it took me watching a second time to pick up was that Wood was always kind of funky towards Darius.
Same. He was always making little one-off hater comments.
Or looks or faces, or whenever he did something well, like the poem, he didn't give him a hand clap or something.
He was a hater driving that damn hearse.
And, what he also says something about romance too. He's like, I believe in romance and flowers, but not every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
tell he wasn't shit. Like
from the beginning.
You could tell.
Yeah. And he mishandled her very.
Oh yeah. Showed his whole ass. He took it too far because he took Nina to a party around that same friend group. Remember, she had dated Darius, so she had been around the clique. Yeah. She had been around the crew. So now it's like, oh, you trying to bring me around to make a point? Because him and Darius had their little pissing contest and conversation.
It was absolutely, a dick swinging contest for
absolutely. Sure. And then when she told him she wanted to leave, she was uncomfortable. He refused to take her home.
Gross.
So Darius had to step in. I just put in my notes, I knew Wood wasn't shit. Like, clearly, he never deserved any type of a chance. Nina and Darius.
And you knew his intentions were genuine. I think hers were compared to his. Because
I agree.
As soon as he saw Darius, after Darius got word of what was going on, what did they do? Use her as some type of metaphor, like a job. Like, used her as a job. Like, oh, you.
That's what I said. That was a little dick swinging contest conversation. Yep. Oh, I usually quit my jobs. You get fired. Like, bro, messing me with this little.
Is this something to be proud of? I don't understand. Okay.
They were both being ridiculous, but I definitely understood why Darius felt some type of way about this situation, but they ended up hashing things out because he followed her. I love that scene where he was like, you don't want to be walking around this neighborhood stomping around like somebody stole your fucking bike.
Yeah.
So they ended up.
Well, honestly, and he did what a guy should do.
Exactly. Like, be a gentleman at least, and make sure she gets home safely. So they ended up reconnecting. She invited him to do some Chicago stepping. And after some cute little montages, Delora, because what would a rom-com be without some montages, honey?
Love the music again.
Exchange of keys. Unfortunately, they could not make that relationship work. And it really came down to a lack of trust, as well as a breakdown in communication, because Lisa was still popping her ass up 5 a.m. name on and number up on a board in the house. Like, I don't trust you. What's going on? I don't, it wasn't.
Who hurt him, Ashley? Who hurt Darius?
I mean, I think in that moment, neither of them were mature enough to have the conversation without there being anger and then immediately a shutdown of trying to resolve it, right? It was just like, man, I don't even need this. Come get your shit out my house. And, I'm over it. Even the way he handled her coming, like, he wouldn't even acknowledge her besides to say, make sure you shut my door all the way. Like, you're having a significant breakup with somebody that you love. I would think you would give it the respect that it deserves. But I think they're only supposed to be in their 20s. So I guess we can give them a little break.
But it's like, do we burn every bridge though in our 20s?
Some of us do. I cannot say I've always been a great communicator when it comes to my feelings, but I've improved. So Nina ends up getting offered a job with Vibe magazine, girl, which I just knew I was going to end up working for when I was grown as well. It takes her to New York, and her girl Josie calls Darius to let him know, because again, they're now broken up, but it's just like, hey, I want to let you know she's leaving. So he runs after her this time though, but misses her train. I put in my notes, he couldn't catch the next one. What's with the drama of like, if I don't get you on this one train, it's over?
Yeah, and he was dragging his feet. I mean, he barely made up his mind to go chase after her.
It's the drama. They wanted the drama. He didn't make no phone calls. He said, because we end up a year later cutting to a final reconnection, because they're both thriving in terms of their career. Darius has finished that novel he had been working on the entirety of the film. Nina is living her best life in New York, but she's sent back for a photo shoot in Chicago, and so she makes a stop at the sanctuary. So we find out again, like, Savon asked Darius, like, why didn't you go after her? Did you call her? Whatever. He was like, I wrote some letters. I just, I never sent them. So this is really hopefully the opportunity for them to reconnect. She doesn't think she sees him in the audience, but she still gets up and reads a poem on love, which I'm sorry to say it did not move me at all. I thought her poem was whack.
It was not good.
No, I thought it was whack. I was like, we can't end this with something like, break my heart, type of poem.
Yeah, well, I have to admit, I did understand where they were trying to go with it in terms of like creating this beautiful picture of outside, and I am remembering love, which
it was whack. Only the last line was good.
Yeah, frankly. And then it's also a tie-in to the first thing she said to him where she was like, hey, there's more things to talk about other than sex.
Yeah, it was definitely a throwback to that. And also supposed to show that even though a year had passed, the love wasn't gone for her. And while she didn't think Darius was there, he was, and it did the trick because she's about to leave and he calls for her. And they have a conversation, wants to give it another shot, tells her he loves her. We don't know necessarily how they're going to make this work because, again, at this point, they're living in different cities. But it seems at the end that we're going to try to do this thing yet again. Delora, my last fun fact, this end scene was originally fully in the rain, but Black women were not buying this shit in test screenings. Our hair, after all, we would not be standing in the rain. So
not at all.
And the director was so upset
at the time.
Yeah, but the director was so upset. He was like, I got comment after comment after comment from Black women. So the studio said, we have to redo this. And the reason why it was raining is because they said it rained so much during the filming that they had to write it into the script. So the rain was not originally the plan. But again, that's why we have the end of Love Jones that we have. My final thoughts on this, and then I want to get yours. The reason why this gets an A- for me is because now that I'm grown and have been in relationships and things like that, in my mind, this ambiguous ending, just because it's been a year, I don't know what they're going to do to prevent what happened last time from happening this time. Like, where's the growth enough for me to feel like we can make this thing work, I guess. And especially now that we're living in different cities, like, I don't know. I know I'm thinking way too deep for a rom-com for sure, but it just struck me as like, I want to root for y'all, but I just don't know how y'all are really going to make this work. So I think that's where my A- comes from.
And I agree 1000% because a year is significant, but it can go by so quickly.
Yeah.
I can tell you, unless you are going to therapy, I don't know, or reading some really good books, I don't know how much growth there is.
Exactly. I was just like, I really want to root for y'all, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen anything that proves to me that, you guys have reached a different level in terms of your ability to communicate and for those trust issues to somehow be resolved, especially living in two different states. It's just a lot. But again, thinking too deep. Love Jones as a whole, I still love. I think I was cheesing, like watching it my first time was like rewatching it again for the first time because I had forgotten so much. So I really enjoyed this revisit to this era of 90s Black beauty and excellence. I love, again, this kind of ability at the time to show Black people and show Black love in a different way without, again, the pain, the violence, the somebody shot and dead by the end of the film that you were getting from Black films of the 90s. So I still love it. And I'm glad we did this throwback. Give me your final thoughts on Love Jones.
My final thoughts. I enjoyed it. As I mentioned, it gave me some Sylvie Loves vibe. It also gave me normal people vibes when it comes to relationships and being off in terms of timing. And obviously, if I had saw this first, I would have been saying normal people reminded me of Love Jones. But
yes.
I enjoy it. I have to say, with Lorenz Tate, he is the GOAT when it comes to 90s Black films. He just doesn't do it for me. He looks like a child. He looks like a child.
Let me say, Lorenz Tate does it for me, and he has aged very, very well. On Girls Trip, I was like,
very well.
Lorenz, you still got the juice, baby. You still got the juice. That scene where he was sitting with the backwards cap, the glasses, and the Bulls jersey. Yep, that did it for me.
Okay. Not with that bird chest, but I digress.
Oh my God.
I'm teasing. He's a small man. I'm a tall woman.
He is a small man, but he's probably my size. I could deal with it. He's probably a my size.
He wasn't my favorite 90s guy. So maybe that was another reason why I didn't necessarily run. One of my favorite films he was in, he played the old musician. Is it Can't Buy Me Love? What was the name? With Halle Berry and Vivica Fox playing his wives.
Yes.
That's my favorite role. And maybe that was my first real impression with him, and he was no good in that film. So
oh no.
So maybe I'll blame that as well. But overall, I just love the freeness of the film. Like it was just about love. It was about young people and their vibrancy, and loving themselves, loving their blackness, loving good
night Black people. I love that scene. Good night Black people.
Exactly. So I greatly appreciate it. I just felt like Darius was a bit problematic. Like he had the schoolboy charm going for him, and he was just too heavy-handed for me to be comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, he was definitely maturing as a man. He even had that discussion with Savon later. He was like, I think you only get a couple of true loves, and I think I may have messed up twice. The first time with Felicia trying to be a player, this time as well. So I think you're seeing he's living out this journey to manhood in front of us on screen.
And I thought Nina was pitch perfect for this film. And it was a good time.
All right. Well, guys, that is our recap of Love Jones. Always feel free to hit us with the comments, hit us with a like, hit us with a subscribe. And Delora, that's all I got.
Thank you, Ashley. Now it's time for our hidden gems. Ashley, would you go first, please?
Absolutely. I have one hidden gem that I burned through very quickly. This is a show I just got hip to on HBO, and I'm watching season 4. It is an Emmy and Golden Globe winning series called In Treatment. And this season picks up 10 years after the season 3 finale of this show, because it originally starred Gabriel Byrne, who this is an Emmy and Golden Globes winning series, by the way, guys. It now stars Uzo Aduba of Orange is the New Black as Dr. Brooke Taylor, and focuses on Brooke as well as 3 of her patients. Yeah, including your boy Anthony Ramos from Hamilton. And In the Heights that we'll be recapping next week. Sorry, spoiler, we'll be recapping that next week. Never thought I'd find a show focused on therapy sessions as fascinating as I do, but I really do. It's like every episode is such a character study.
How many episodes are there?
So there's 13 so far of season 4, but each one is a half hour, and each one is literally focused on a patient.
Okay.
So the performances are outstanding, and it focuses on a lot of issues of present day, especially for 2020 with everything that's going on with COVID.
Wow.
So it's really, really good. I mean, I am addicted to this show. I don't know how many more episodes there are going to be, but I'm going to have to go back and rewatch the first 3 seasons too. So that is,
check that out.
Yeah, that is In Treatment on HBO. Delora, what about you?
Thank you, Ashley. All right, I have one this week. It is a song. It is it's called Why Are You Texting Me? It's by Matthew J Woodard. He is a former American Idol contestant. He's also the voice of I believe it's called Arlo, the Alligator Boy, which is a Netflix animated series, it's an animated movie that's going to be a series as well. Super talented. I don't know if he's on the spectrum or if he's just simply quirky. Forgive me for not knowing, but he has such a unique vocal talent. Like his vocal arrangements and choices are absolutely beautiful. And fun fact, he didn't really get a record label contract right away after American Idol. And so Katy Perry put him on her record label. So
nice.
Fascinating. So if you have Tidal, Apple, Spotify, check it out. It's worth a listen.
Very nice, Delora. You always come in with the song gems. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, I already
shows for sure.
Girl, you know, I'll be watching everything I can get my hands on. I already gave a spoiler, but do you want to reiterate what our recap for next week is going to be?
Our recap next week, it's going to be In the Heights, Lin-Manuel Miranda's first Broadway musical brought to the silver screen. It is available in the theaters as well as HBO Max. So check it out and be prepared. You know how much I love Hamilton. Everyone who listens to the podcast should have a general understanding of my obsession with Hamilton. I did see In the Heights in theater on stage.
Yeah.
So it's not as good as Hamilton, but my hope is that this movie magic sprinkled in, you know, and transitioning sets, it's gonna make this spectacular, because as for what I've seen so far, it's looking pretty amazing, choreography and all. So
nice. Well, I'm going to go into this cold, so I'm excited because I have no idea even what the story really is about. And it has one of the main actresses, my girl from a show, Vita, on Stars. I love that show. So I'm looking forward to seeing this as well. And guys, be ready, because yes, we're going back into the world of musicals.
Yeah, this will be our second musical. The first,
back into the world of musicals.
Yes.
Very exciting. Well, guys, we'll see you then. Be blessed. Have a great one. Love you.